like all bets are off. Anybody could become abusive once they're being defensive.
In my head.
Hey everyone, it's Ryan Liberty, and this is the channel where we aim to humanize mental health. I'm in a parking lot. It's the day that I do everything and I'm rushing around, but I'm going to try to talk about this weekend the topics of toxic people, which I hate that word, but we'll get to that. Controlling behavior, mental health, racism, like I just want to go there. So abuse, let's see where we wind up. Well, hello there, it's a new day, and for those that are new to this channel, I don't know if I mentioned it in the last video, but I talk about my life a little bit here in between, so if you're not interested in that, feel free to skip ahead. But why are you here if you're not interested in that? This is part of Humanizing Mental Health, is showing how I am day to day, so thank you to my subscribers who check in every day and actually do care about what's going on. But I was dissociating a little bit today. It's a little like, I don't know, I'm just not feeling today. It's been very rainy. It's gonna continue to be rainy the next couple of days, so I don't even know if you're gonna see a video from me. Loud car. Okay, well somebody just pulled into their driveway across from where I'm standing, so I'm not gonna sit here talking. Okay, so briefly, just to get my complaining out of the way, I was dissociating because I'm working on this big video that I want to do for my 200th video, and it feels like work, and when things feel like work and they tax my system a little bit too much, I start to dissociate a little bit. It's just what happens with me. So I've been in this like fogginess kind of a brain, and I'm starting to come out of it as I'm walking outside because the cool air is like grounding me a little bit more, but sorry, I'm getting distracted. The video that I want to do, it feels very big for me. I wanted to speak for everybody with mental health issues, which is a big task, especially when a lot of mental health issues have kind of like opposite symptoms. But it's also difficult because I'm trying to plan something that's not like the videos that I do here. Like, these are fairly easy for me because I just go out and I talk, and it's whatever's at the top of my head, and I just have to kind of try to organize it in a way that makes sense for whoever's listening, that there's a message that's getting across, and I can do that. That's not like a big deal for me, but this other thing that I'm doing is going to be different. I want it to be more like cinematography, like there's a whole vision to it, like almost like storyboarding, except for it's all in my head. So that's all I got to say on that. There's a car coming, and we will get to the actual topic now. Okay, very briefly, because I don't belong here. Happy Pride Month. It is Gay Pride Month, LGBTQ plus people. This is your month. I don't normally like connect with Pride Month, which is kind of sad. So, I don't know. Happy Pride Month. Alright, so let's get to what you're here for. My glasses are a little dirty, I apologize, and it's foggy. This is just like not a good day. So abuse and toxic people and all this. Well, first of all, I don't like the term toxic people. I don't believe that people are toxic. I don't believe we should ever call somebody, it doesn't matter what mental disorder they have, whatever their behavior is, toxic, vampires, evil, like these kinds of things. Period. Like, I don't even feel like I need to justify that, but I don't think it's what we should do, because people are people. People are human beings, and the minute you start putting these, like, supernatural or religious or otherworldly characteristics on them, you start to dehumanize them. And, sorry, stumbling over my words there. You start to dehumanize them, and I don't think that's ever appropriate. I don't care what they've done. I don't care how much they act like an animal or like something else, like a monster. No, don't use those words, because people are people, and if it's within the realm of human experience, they're still humans. So that's how I feel about toxic people. I don't feel like there are any toxic people. Now, given that, obviously abuse is a real thing, and abuse happens. So here's my take on abuse, because I have been somebody who has abused other people, and I have been somebody who has been abused by people. And I think if we were to look at the majority of people, we have played both of those roles, whether we realize it or not. And we may say, well, when I did it, it wasn't intentional, but you don't know when somebody else did it, whether it was intentional or not either. So let's see. I'm kind of passionate about this because when we see somebody else, we get caught up in these roles, okay? This is what I really don't like. And I'm just kind of like ranting here, and I apologize. Like, again, this is humanizing mental health, and this is just who I am, but I'm going to go ahead and rant on this. But when we put these like roles on people, like when you put this role of, well, that person abused me, and I am a victim, and they are evil, and I am innocent, and all these other things, it really kind of like rigidly locks you in to a specific characteristic. It locks your identity in, and it makes you rigid and inflexible, which is the opposite of having good mental health. Good mental health means that you can bend, you can be flexible, you can consider thoughts that are unpleasant, ambivalent, you can consider things that are not necessarily what you want, that you can still hold that in your mind, hold that in your heart, and wrestle with the idea and toss it around, and again, be flexible. You can know that somebody did something to you, and that doesn't mean the next person who does something similar is going to be the same way. So, all right. I got to think about this because I'm passionate about this, and because I'm passionate, my thoughts are kind of going all over the place. I'm going to walk, I'm going to think about it, and I'm going to come back with something good. Okay, so I guess this is just going to be a rant video, so thank you for holding in there with me. But when we label somebody as toxic, when we label somebody as abusive, now I don't have a problem with labeling behavior as abusive, or saying an abusive person, for example. But when we like make these accusations that somebody is something, then what we are doing, and it's hard to explain this, but we are saying that that possibility is out there, that somebody can be toxic. And as soon as we do that, we also open up the possibility for us to be toxic. It's this idea of, and this is just like some spirituality, and maybe this doesn't have a place being mixed in with psychology, but it is kind of what I believe. It's this idea of karma, and how when you, I think back to a line from a song by India Ari, and there's cars coming because there's a train coming if you can't hear, so hold on. So the lyrics are, the words that come out of your mouth, you are the first to hear. And I think that's very poignant when we're talking about people, and we say things about people that they're toxic, that they're evil, because as soon as you say you are toxic, your ears are hearing you are toxic, and it's opening up that possibility for yourself. So again, in the interest of not dehumanizing other people, don't do it, because you're also dehumanizing yourself when you do that. And the minute that you do something that resembles anything like the other person is doing, your brain is going to think, wait a minute, maybe I'm toxic. So just scratch that language. There's no need for it. Second of all, as I mentioned, I have been abusive. You probably have been abusive too, and you don't realize it. Or maybe you do realize it, but you don't think you've been as abusive as this other person or whatever, which understandably, there are different intensity levels to abuse. But abuse isn't good, period. It's not great. And, you know, there is a level of it that we tolerate in society because we do have resilience and we're able to bounce back from it. So that's something to be mindful of. But usually when somebody is being abusive, I would rather, you know, I'm fine with the word abusive, I'm fine with the word victim and all these other things. I actually, I know a lot of people say you shouldn't use the word victim. I'm a big believer that using the word victim is totally fine. You can use it for the rest of your life, because if something happened to you that was traumatic, you're a victim of that. And even if you go on and you become a survivor or whatever, you're still a victim of it. Like, it happened. I don't believe in denying reality. So, usually when somebody does something that's abusive, and I'll take myself for example, it's in reaction to something. It's not like they are, and you're going to say like, no, I didn't do anything to provoke their abuse. Of course you didn't. But it's still in reaction to something. Something happened that triggered them to feel like they had to defend themselves, and in the process of defending themselves, they did this abusive behavior. It doesn't always look like that on the outside, but that is what is going on. And as far as I can tell, in every single case, even in people who have really the disorder, I hate to even say this because I hate to stereotype, but people with like antisocial personality disorder, narcissistic personality disorder, borderline, the cluster B people, in other words, they're reacting to things, and yes, it's callous sometimes, yes, it's hostile, yes, it's manipulative, like antagonistic, like these are the personality traits. I have a whole series on personality traits if you want to learn about them, but they are defenses. They're there to protect the person. And so we all have defenses. We all do things to protect ourselves. What the person who is being abusive doesn't understand is that those defense, first of all, they may have such a level of not being aware, and there's different levels for that they don't realize what they're doing is actually harming anybody else. Because again, they think they're just defending themselves. They don't realize they're causing harm to somebody. So there's that. But also they are, I'm losing my train of thought here. Hold on. Okay, well, they don't always have an awareness of even that they're being defensive. Some people don't even have that awareness. But let's take, for example, because this is a common thing. A lot of times I hear from people who have gone through a relationship with somebody who had narcissistic tendencies. And let's not be quick to just label somebody who is narcissistic as having narcissistic personality disorder, because everybody is narcissistic. So I just want to put caution out there, because this has become a phenomenon that I don't like, where everybody who is my ex is a narcissist. But let's say somebody's narcissistic and you come to them, you're stressed out, it's the end of the day, and you try to share how you're feeling and it's not good, and you're frustrated and you're looking for support and you're not getting any support from them for whatever reason. Maybe you didn't communicate well that you needed support, or maybe you did and you're just not getting it and it's frustrating you more, you're getting worked up, and now you're pissed off and you're upset. So that is that can be abusive, because they're not validating your feelings, they're not validating your experience. But from their perspective, if you can step outside your own perspective, and this may not be the video for you if you're fresh into this stuff, so I understand that, and I'm not trying to like trigger anybody here, but if you step outside of your perspective, go into their perspective, if they have, let's just say they do have narcissistic personality disorder, they are they don't know what to do with your emotions, and your emotions triggered them. So you're triggered because they're not reacting, and they're triggered because you are emotional, and that shuts them down. And once they're shut down, once their empathy is turned off, because that's what happens, there's no way for them to validate your emotions at that point, because now they're defensive and now they're concerned about themselves and trying to protect themselves. So they're not going to answer you, and they're trying to control the situation. So probably they're going to get grandiose or something. They're going to think highly of themselves. They may try to put you down because they feel threatened by you. But again, this is all coming out of defensiveness. This is just the normal reaction. It's a normal thing that everybody does to some extent. We will do this in small ways. Children do these things all the time. And as adults, we carry some of these behaviors into the future, but we just don't realize it. I need to go. Okay, I'm like very high energy, and everywhere I go there's always somebody behind me. So there was a parked car that was like kind of listening to me rant at the last location, and then I stopped somewhere and somebody pulled up. Anyway, before we go saying that everybody that invalidates us is abusing us, we have to be cautious, because there are things that are within our responsibility. Okay, so I'm filming this after I already filmed everything, but this is what happens when I run my mouth and I'm not really carefully thinking everything through. I just want to make a caveat to say that when you're a child and something's happening to you that is abusive, that's not your responsibility. That's not for you to take ownership of, and that you don't really have to worry so much about what your place was in that, because co-regulation as a child means that the parent or the guardian takes care of you. It's a one-way relationship of co-regulation. It's not a thing where the child has to consider how the parent's feeling. So I just want to make that clear. And if we have borderline personality disorder, if we have antisocial personality disorder, we are by definition or I shouldn't say we are, we could be, because these are personality traits that fall under those disorders. We could be irresponsible, and we, you know, we may, if we're borderline, have emotional affectivity, or like, we have to look at our own ish. That's what I'm getting at. We have to look at our own stuff. So when we approach somebody for validation, did we let them know we were looking for validation? Did we tell them we wanted them to listen to us? Or did we say we were expecting a solution or some kind of advice from them? Because some people don't know how to interact with somebody who comes at them full force, full of emotion, frustrated, stressed. And as I mentioned, if you're somebody who gets overwhelmed very easily by emotion, gets triggered yourself and shuts down, like, the whole interaction is not going to work well. So it takes two to tango. I'm not saying that abuse is okay. I want to make that clear. Abuse is never okay. But there's an interaction that goes on, and you have to be responsible for your half of the interaction. And I say this because if you are somebody who has PTSD, who has been through traumatic experiences, you probably got traumatized because you don't have resilience skills, and you don't have sources of resilience. And if you are somebody who is not interfacing correctly with other people, who is not approaching them well, then you are not going to have the resilience skills you need for the next time, and you're just going to keep getting traumatized over and over and over again. So part of having resilience is being able to take responsibility for your part in things, being able to radically accept the situation as it is, and to make mindful decisions about what's going on. All of this can be seen in dialectical behavior therapy. But this is why I caution against using phrases like toxic people and abuser and victim and all this other stuff, because it's helpful to have labels for things. I don't like the toxic, I don't like the evil, all that other stuff. To me, that's just garbage and there's no need for it. But I can understand I was victimized, or that person was abusive. Like, okay, I can get that. But when we make it so permanent, again, we're not being flexible, and that's not healthy thinking. It's black and white thinking. Okay, so my head is really all over the place, and whenever I do these videos about abuse and stuff, I feel like I'm stepping on eggshells no matter where I go, because I don't want to offend people who feel like they've been abused, but I also want them to see, like, you may have been abusive yourself, with emotional ability and, like, hostility and things that come with people who feel invalidated, because once defensiveness enters the equation, like, all bets are off. Anybody could become abusive once they're being defensive, and you know, if you are somebody who was seeking attention for your emotional situation, and you continually sought attention, you weren't considering the other person's, attention seeking is a narcissistic thing. You weren't considering the other person's feelings in that moment, and maybe they weren't able to hold your feelings. Like, part of co-regulation is being able to see both sides, and I do understand there's a give and take here, and I do understand that some people are abusive and they just take, but I just want you to open up the possibility to see both sides of the equation here, and to see what was going on. You know, I have been in a situation where, just to clarify and give you some background here, maybe I should have done this earlier, but I have been in a situation where I considered both sides, and I did everything I could to express myself, and still was emotionally abused. So I'm not saying that, like, emotional abuse isn't real. Of course, like, if you look through the videos on my channel, I've done quite a few on abuse, because I believe it's important that people know what it is. But I also believe it's important to take your own responsibility for what's your part to play, and and to heal from the trauma if you've experienced trauma. So one last thing I do want to say, because this is something that seems to pop up every now and then: racism is not mental disorder. They are not the same thing. Racism is not a mental disorder. Racism is more, it's more like an ideology, and same thing with terrorism. It's more like an ideology or a religion. You can be mentally sane and healthy, and I know that sounds crazy, but you can be mentally sane and healthy and still be a racist and still be a terrorist and all these other things. So I hate when we equate things that don't belong together. So what do you think about everything that I have said? Are you offended? Have I triggered you? If I have triggered you, I do apologize. That wasn't really my intent, but I get passionate about this, and I get very, I don't know, it just comes out this way. So thank you for listening to it. If you think that, if you like hearing these kind of, like, discussions and these hot topics from both sides, I hope I've shown both sides of things, then let me know. let me know what you think about all this in the comments. I want to hear from you because this isn't just about me ranting to myself. This is about us as a community. We're humanizing mental health, and I am only one human. So let me know what you think. If you are new here and you enjoy this kind of stuff, please subscribe. And once you hit subscribe, there should be a bell that pops up next to it somewhere. Hit the bell if you want to get notifications of all of my videos. It may rain in the coming days, so if you don't see a video for me for like a couple of days, I apologize. I am also hard at work at trying to get that video done for my 200th video. So we're going to see how that all goes, but I thank you, and leave a comment, let me know.